All right, guys. We've got me, Cass Morrow, and the other partner between Catherine and me, which is Mr. Dr. James Tippins. Boy, I am stuttering today. All right, guys. We are going to open it up for live Q&A. We decided to do this every week because you guys are catching on that we're doing this every week, 3 p.m. Central. So we want to bring you the answers to your questions. More importantly, though, you guys are never on when we start. Be ready. So until then, we're going to get started here with something called the inner critique. We brought this up with our men this week. I thought it was a great call with the guys.
I did
a little bit long, and it was really, really important because we have a lot of people who want to be better in their life. And at the end of the day, what happens is you have this voice inside your head that's telling you you can't be better.
That's right. That's right.
And on top of that, you have your external factors, the external noise, typically your spouse, if you're watching Moral Marriage, okay? And then compounded with your inner voice, you're almost fucked, right? You're doomed if you let this take over.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And a lot of times you think about, the inner critic. It's the inner voice inside. It's the voice inside that makes you believe. Sometimes it's not even audible. It's just subconsciously there. I'm not good enough. I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to succeed in this. Why should I try? I can't be perfect. There's a lot of things. And we talked about a lot of these things yesterday over the hour. And it also manifests in a way of that we call the imposter syndrome. It's like, you're doing a lot of stuff that you do well, but you really don't feel like you do it well. Everybody just applauds you and says, hey, way to go. But ultimately, this is a stumbling block. And one of the things we talked about yesterday, Cass, is there were 7 or 8 things that we talked about of how to expose and understand the inner critic. So I'll just go through some of those and you can chime in as you want to. But
maybe just rattle them off quick because we know questions are going to start to roll in and we're short on time today, guys. So we want to maximize it. But of course, if you want more, guys, I'll drop a link to the app here because we can give you this training inside our app. And but yeah, James, before you rattle it off real quick, I want you guys to think about the inner critique or this imposter syndrome. Catherine said it beautifully on one of our podcast episodes, which was entitled Imposter Syndrome, I'm pretty sure, where like a baby, you don't call a baby an imposter when a baby is going from crawling to walking, it falls. You're not an imposter. You're learning to walk, right? And that's what a lot of you are doing in the face of your relationships and the growth and the struggles, okay? Right. If you can recognize that voice, that inner critique, or your spouse's voice especially, will really make you feel like you're an imposter if you get sucked into that. Now, please rattle off your list, James.
That's right. Yeah. The first thing is that we mentioned that it's not you. That belief system, that inner voice, that critique, that critic, that imposter, it's not you. It's just a script. It's something that you've been programmed with from childhood. Your parents, your teachers, your family, your friends, your relatives, whatever. It's not truth. It's programming. The second thing is that it speaks in absolutes, which means that it's never telling the truth. And an absolute is like you're always a loser. You always fail. You're never enough. An absolute is an ultimate thing. There's no such thing as always or never. You're always this or you're never that. So it exaggerates because nuance would quieten it down. So it needs certainty to survive. So it only offers distortion in the end. The third thing is it guards the false self, that lie, that fake identity that you have. It literally just protects that thing for all it's worth. Why? Just like when you try something in your relationship or a friendship in life or whatever, and somebody perceives it wrong and they say, well, you're just being rude, and you're not being rude. And what you want to do so bad is just go in and defend yourself, improve just how good you are and how not rude you are. The inner critic does the same thing. It guards the false self because it defends the persona that you built in order to feel accepted. So it's not protecting you, it's protecting the version of you that was shaped by the fear that came out of the compliance and the pliability that came in your life. The fourth thing that I mentioned is that it hates the present tense. I talk a lot about living in the here, not trying to get there, because we try to get there. When we get there, it's the new here and we don't want to be here. But the inner critic hates the present tense. It literally thrives on regret and anxiety. Regret is ruminating about the reflecting on the past and ruminating on the past. Anxiety is worried about the future. And when you're growing, it doesn't want success. It wants safety. It wants to feel that fake comfort of let everything go. Everything is exactly how it needs to be. Don't do anything. Don't grow. but that's why you hear it the most when you are trying to grow. And one of the ways, the last two things that I talked about, one of the ways that it actually presents is it masquerades as like a moral compass or a morality. It pretends to be your conscience. And you just say, well, this is who I am, or this is how I believe. But the truth be known is that it's not who you are, how you believe. It's how you've been programmed to believe. So the real conscience is rooted in love and clarity. But the inner critic, it really just destroys you because it uses guilt, not guidance. It tries to make you feel bad about who you are. And then the last thing I said is that it's a symptom. It's not the true self. It's a symptom of the false identity. It's a symptom of the false self. And so when it speaks, it's not evidence of the truth. And it's evidence of misalignment. I like to say that it's a signpost and not a source. And you don't have to fix it. You just have to get to the root of what it's really hiding. And that's where you get liberated. And then there were 3 ways to overcome the critic we can talk about later. But I mean, these things are, it's really important to understand that you don't know you have. A lot of people say, no, I don't have an inner voice. You know, I'm pretty cool. But when you start trying to grow, it gets so loud. It begins to make you feel, and you don't know it except where you feel like you just can't keep going. And you used to think about babies learning to walk. Nobody screams at their baby, you're such a loser. You know, you can't even take a step. The same thing when you're eating food, or you know, you have to eat every day, but you don't take time to eat, or you eat the wrong thing. You just don't quit and give up. Say, well, I'm never going to eat again because I didn't make time to eat today. You just eat. You know, who told you what time it was supposed to be eaten anyway? I mean, who made the rule that noon is lunch, right?
That's right.
That's sort of what we talked about yesterday.
We don't have a lot of questions coming. We have no questions coming in yet. So let's just keep rolling with this here, guys. One of the things I want you to think about is this. Your critic is real, or you are an imposter if you're actually not following through on what you want to do.
Yes.
That doesn't mean you won't make a mistake along the way. But using that example that James just used for food, I mean, if you say you're going to go onto a meal plan and you know why you want to eat healthy, that doesn't mean you won't fall off the wagon. Okay. Right. But typically, what a lot of people do is say that they want to do something. They'll preach why they want to be healthy. They'll talk about why it's so important. They'll talk about the long life, the way they want to look or whatever. And they don't actually follow through. And the example I love to use here is when you're eating really well, what do you say? You go, well, I think I deserve a cheat meal. Nobody has a fucking healthy cheat meal when they're on the McDonald's bandwagon for a month. You know what I mean? That's not how you do it. You just eat better. Right. And so I think if you really want to understand if the critique is right, you need to be start with being more accountable to yourself. You know, I put out a reel this morning that was about, you know, your wife should be on your ass. Well, but the end of my write-up was different than the reel. And the end of my write-up said, but if you're doing this on your own, your wife wouldn't be on your ass. Right. My wife doesn't have to talk to me about the gym because I go to the gym. Why would I bring that up? It's not my responsibility to make Catherine go to the gym, but as a leader, if I know she's going to feel uncomfortable with her body, she's likely to not go to the gym. I'm going to go to the gym and eat well. Mm-hmm. You know, I did a new thing. Now we're doing a food service, right? Well, now she's doing a food service. Why? Because in life, we were messing up and eating skip the dishes or not eating properly, right? So I took a step. That doesn't mean that we're not going to, like on the weekend, we went and had some dates and a couple of meals got wasted. That doesn't mean I'm a fucking imposter. I can listen to the voice inside my head, or I could say, this is just the way it's going today. You know what I mean? But I'm still moving in the direction. I think if you guys could just move in the direction you want to go, you'd have less of the worry about the noise. And if you can quiet yours, you can quiet your partners.
That's right. That's right. Because it discombobulates. It just messes you up emotionally and mentally. And one of the things for me, and there's no greater teacher than experience, right? For me, it was this idea of being perfect, Cass. I had to be perfect. Now, nobody sat me down and put their finger in my face and said, all right, you little shit, if you're not perfect, you're a piece of crap. But at the end of the day, that's how I felt. And so what happened for me is that I tried to perfect everything before presenting it. And so the things that I wanted, the things that people saw, they were like, oh my God, you've just mastered this. But see, the inner critic is not motivated by mastery. It's motivated by avoidance. So when I couldn't master something, I would just stop. I was like, I'm just not going to do this. I don't have the bandwidth. I don't have the emotional bandwidth because I cannot fail. Because even if no one saw the failure, I knew it that I failed. So this voice gets even louder. like I said, when you're expanding, it doesn't really get that loud when you're failing. It quiets down because that's what it wants. It wants you just to sort of sit still and not try, because why? It wants safety. But you will hear it the most when you start to grow. And especially the fact that people think that falling down in the growth process, falling down in learning is failure.
It's not failure.
It's not failure. I mean, how many times when you're learning multiplication tables in school, I never memorized those damn things. I hated that stuff because, all right, 14 times 3, I don't know. I don't care. I just look it up. I never understood that. So that pressure, so I avoided it. I got sick on the days we had to do those things in 7th grade. I didn't do the work. I tried to get extra credit so I could know that I could take the 0. I'm not kidding. You just don't do it. You avoid it. Why? Because you just can't do math. I have this little saying when it comes to math. I said, I don't do math. It's one letter away from meth, and that's a no-go.
I think that what James is talking about here, guys, is so key. Like anything that you want in life, including your great relationship, including making money, you let that critic stop you. You think condition. We talk about perfectionism a lot on this call on the app, but like we think it has to be perfect, or we tell ourselves, or this voice actually tells you that it has to be perfect conditions. See, I'm going to be less defensive if my partner, right? Instead of getting out of your comfort zone going, who do I want to be? I don't want to be an asshole. I don't want to say things that I don't mean because I'm defensive because they're hurting me. Who do you want to be? This happens with a lot of things, right? Conditions must be perfect or else you won't start eating healthy. You won't go to the gym. A lot of you will say, well, unless I quit drinking coffee, cigarettes, bad food, then I can start going to the gym. That's probably not going to be the best way for you to start. That's a lot to quit in one go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And people do this with business all the time. I wish I would have started, trying to learn how to do this and XYZ. And so I could just have this business already. We see this all the time. Man, I got I think probably 30 DMs since Monday already saying, shit, it might be too late. I wish I would have started sooner. What in the fuck? There's never been an opportunity that's better than now. That voice in your head is what's telling you, don't do it.
That's
James, repeat what you said earlier, right? Anxiety is future paced.
That's right.
Right.
You sit around and you think about what you wish you had, what you wish you did. I mean, today's Momentum Call, Cass, I opened the floor when there's about 40 guys on there and ladies, it's a co-ed course. And I said, what's one thing, I didn't qualify it. I said, what's one thing you need to remove, right? You need to get rid of right now. And I got a whole list. I wrote them all down. Nice. And I mean, there's like 16 or 17. Fear. Stop saying yes when I want to say no. Self-doubt, procrastination, reactivity, overconfidence, overthinking, fear, excuses, insecurity, needing validation, anxiety, all inadequacy, all this stuff. And I thought, I didn't give a context. But because we were on that call, everybody sort of absorbed the context. Because I could have said, what's one thing you need to get rid of in your closet?
Sure. But because that's what we noticed. Because we noticed people always go to that, right? I want to get rid of fear. I want to be less insecure. I want to stop defending myself so much. Listen, this is your inner voice making it very fucking difficult for you. You're looking at it going, if I could just be XYZ, then I could be confident again.
That's right.
The problem is it prevents you from looking at what needs to be done. If you look at what needs to be done, right? Let's say insecurity, for an example, okay? There is something in you with your own self-worth that needs to be done. You can't say, I want to be less insecure. You have to say, why don't I believe in myself? And peel that layer back. And that's going to be many, many layers. It's going to be a lot more work to do that, right? James, it came in here. Just so why don't you give your 3 things? James has simplified it to 3 things, but what's the best way to shut the inner voice up? How can you keep it from having such an impact on your confidence?
Yeah. Well, the first thing is to recognize it, to know that unconsciously and subconsciously it's there, and you'll feel it when you feel misaligned. When you're trying something, you feel that exhaustion, that mental exhaustion, that emotional exhaustion, sometimes physical exhaustion. I just can't. And you'll say that. Some people say, I just don't want to. That is the inner critic. Now, there could be some things and some conditions. Listen, if you're not healthy and you're not sleeping and you're letting this mental, physical cycle of just spiraling, get yourself in a state of health. You don't have to be perfectly healthy. So here we go. I'll never get it. Just do something different. Make some decisions. Move more. That's what I always tell people. Move more and drink more water and learn some basic tools on really just getting back into a place of movement. But then you name the origin. That's the first thing. Where did this, instead of arguing with the voice, like, oh God, I don't want to feel this way, or I'm not really this way. What do I do? What do I do? Don't talk to it. Just find out where it goes. Track it back to its source. It's like if you hear something in the room. I don't know if any of you who've lived in the South, in the country and all, but sometimes in the summer, man, a damn cricket can get in the house, and that cricket will chirp all night long. And you think, I know where this thing is, but you got to find it, and you got to really be. And when you get close to it, it'll stop, and then you got to like wait for it to go in again. You got to
exactly happened at our last house. It was in the vent in the floor. We have basements here, but could not find that cricket.
Could not find that cricket. And it'll drive you insane. But you've got to find the source of this inner voice. You got to say, who does this sound like? Was this grandma? Is this daddy? When did I first believe this? I've been able to chase it all the way back to my childhood for some things that I believe.
Sometimes it's easier to start a little smaller. I'm going to stick with the gym theme, or maybe it's just you want to be more productive. We've got a lot of people trying to realize they're learning from us. They're like, man, I am watching too much Netflix. I am sleeping too long. Maybe you have to get up a little bit earlier. So let's go to something simpler. Something that's probably not rooted in your childhood. You're just fucking tired. You're up all night with the kids, and you don't want to get up in the morning when the alarm goes off. That's your inner voice saying, I need a break. I need to sleep a little longer. Those of us who do more get more. That is it. There's some James hates math, but it's a mathematical equation. It really is. Not true math, but it really is. Those who do more get more. So when that inner voice says, I don't want to, you don't have to train yourself back to the beginning for some of this stuff. Start small. Start with actually taking a step that moves you tomorrow, and you'll start to realize you have more power than you think. The moment you roll out of bed, the moment you just march yourself over to brush your teeth, the light comes on and you do that. You do shit you don't want to do. Turn the light on bright. You know what I mean? You don't have to. Just train yourself with easy shit. And that might be hard for some of you, I suppose, but it's not as hard as going back and going, Daddy said it first to me in the beginning.
That's right. I mean? Yeah. And I put these things sort of in a reverse order, but when it comes to like I said, just move. I'm telling you, movement, getting up. I heard somebody say that, well, I'm just in bad shape. I got a hernia or whatever. And I've been trying to get back in the gym. Why are you getting in the gym? Well, I want to be in shape. Well, how about just get your ass up and walk? I mean, just walk.
That's right.
Turn off the TV and go walk around the house. Go walk around the block. I'm on the phone hours every day, but I get 15,000 steps in.
That's right.
If I'm not sitting at his desk, and Cass, I know you get the steps in. Walk around the pool, walk around the house.
Pool on the phone calls all day.
All day long.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all you have to do.
Before you go on here, we got a good one here. So first, we get two good ones here. So yes, you do need to remember that the voice isn't you. It is part of your programming. Using the perfectionist thing that James was talking about, my dad told me I wouldn't make the next Moral Millions. So for 18 years, I didn't ask for help. For 18 years, I didn't look at competitors. For 18 years, I did everything I could to prove that I could do it on my own, because the voice would tell me, if you don't, he's never going to love you.
That's right.
And so now that's an example of James talking about going deeper when you heard about it. But it's your programming. It gets edited, you guys. It's called a paradigm. And as the paradigm shifts, it gets worse and worse as you repeat patterns, as you enable the patterns. That's why I say you're codependent on your own pain more than the pain your partner gives you. Okay?
Yeah, now, we talk about that a lot too.
Yeah, we do. Now, John says, I've been following you for a while, but and I'm implementing the tools. I love that, guys. He's talking about the tools. We say the struggle is in the tool, not the thing that's going on in your relationship. Okay. So I know you're listening, John. I love it. He says they're working. He's a better place now, but his wife is skeptical and keeps bringing up the past. How can I make this better? Well, to tie it to your inner voice, remember, what do you believe about yourself? So I think what you're saying is the tools are going well and that things are much better now. Okay. So how do you feel about yourself? Fuck the voice. Now, if you can do that, I get it. Your wife doesn't trust you. That's because you make changes years after your partner hears you. Or hears you, speaks to you, tells you things, right? We defended ourselves for years. You've tried to make changes. You've made promises. We're all trained to give apologies from an early age, like as in baby age, right? Say you're sorry for biting, right? And you don't even know what you're even feeling. Like, what was your kid feeling when they bit? Like, why? Did you ask what happened? Or did you just say, don't fucking bite? See, that's part of that programming stuff. So how do you make it real for her, John? You just keep implementing, always saying, I don't care how rough she is. I don't care. I mean, verbally, physically, whatever. I don't care what she does next. Who do I want to be? Because she can be angry, but she can't slam doors and smash iPads. She can't kick you in the balls, really, right? Like the point is, who do you want to be? The only way to show a partner that you're real is if you believe you're real.
That's right.
They can tell you're manipulating them. We got that question today on a call, James. Oh, you weren't on it. But, so my wife wants me to move out of the bedroom. And she says I'm manipulating her because I won't. Well, technically, she's manipulating you. If you're manipulating by staying, she's manipulating by telling you to leave. Like, just, So at the end of the day, who do you want to be? John, he's not going to leave the room. He wants to be with his wife. He wants to set the structure for marriage. Now, she might leave. That's her choice now.
That's right.
That's her listening to her inner voice. He's never going to change. He's never going to change. Well, she needs to learn to fucking fight the inner voice and allow it. See, guys, before I turn this back to James, because I see he's chomping. But, guys, Catherine, I think this is so stupid. The amount of people that fight for what they want and they finally get it from a partner, do yourself a fucking favor. If your partner starts to change, edify them. Give them gratitude. Support them. You know how many times I told Catherine I was going to quit smoking? Every time she says, you got this, babe. You know why? Because she fucking cares. People say, I don't want you to yell, and you stop yelling, and then all of a sudden you're fucking mad at them for yelling. Grow up. James, please.
Yeah. And now, have you stopped smoking yet, by the way?
No, I love smoking. So
you got this, sir, brother. You got this.
You got this. I actually like it.
Yeah. I mean, and that's, there you go. But see, and the thing is, and Cass said it, is this inner critic, this false belief. It's not a self. It's not you. It's a symptom. And what we try to do is fix it rather than just move forward. We try to fix it by not going back to really what it's hiding, because this is what I get to. This is what freed me, that I don't have anxiety anymore because I know who I am. I don't have to make decisions every day because there's no dichotomy. There's no frustration. There's no anxiety about where I'm going in life because it's made already, because I see the man in the mirror perfectly. Yes. Not a perfect man, but I see him perfectly. And I know where I need to grow. And you know what? I'm growing, but I'm doing it day by day. And that's what we've got to do. Try not to focus on where you're trying to go, but know where you're going, but be where you are every single day. So that's one of the things that I said yesterday is you've got to reclaim your authority over your beliefs. So you've got to build a new inner voice, a new standard, not by reacting, but by resonating, of saying, this is who I am and this is who I want to be. Mm-hmm. So not what will they think? I hear that constantly. What's going to happen?
It's perfect because Chris says, so what you were doing it for your dad to prove yourself, okay? And then you started to do it for yourself instead of your dad. That's when I was able to improve. Yes, you understood that correctly, okay? Why is that so important to understand? Okay, we'll put it in perspective, and I'll use math because I think math doesn't lie. So for years, I made $150,000 owning a gym. Catherine joined me. We did $250,000. That's gross. That's not profit. So that's not good if you think about getting into business for yourself, okay? Right. And then when I decided, I was tired of having to prove something, when I just realized I enjoy this, it wasn't about anybody else. I realized that I could help more people if I was doing it because I cared, not to prove something.
That's right.
Right. And then what happened is I learned that, I can't do this on my own. If I could, 18 years wouldn't have gone by. Some of you married should know this by now. How many years are you going to go through the same bullshit? The amount of messages I get that are 20, 30, 40 years together. We've been together since high school. If you do this for someone else, you will never get help because you're trying to prove it to someone else. And so even if you get help, this is possibly what's happening with, I think his name was John, you start to implement the tools, but because the motive is for them and your voice is still telling you, you got to do this right. What if I lose them? What if I never succeed? What if I never do? Then what happens is you never get there. You'll always be tied and dependent on the result based on the outcome that has nothing to do with you, which means you're setting yourself up from failure from the beginning. Because if it's not about what you can do, you can only succeed if they don't move the goal line. What if I did make the next? Well, no, I have made the next more millions. But if my dad, I don't talk to my dad, but if he knows that, he'd probably say his first response would probably be, Oh, that's cool. I sold my company for 40 million or whatever the fuck he said.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, who
Always
fucking knows? It's just another fucking. So I have to do it for me, and then I'm not worried about goalposts. Then I decide if they don't get on board. Well, what do I want to do with that? It's my choice.
That's
right?
exactly right.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of what I call resonance or alignment. And when that inner voice is, when you're trying to take authority over what you think and feel, instead of saying, what will they think? You say, is this who I am? Does this align with who I am?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't make a decision. I had a guy on the call today, and he was a little stuck, and he's like, well, I'm doing this and I'm doing that and I'm doing this, and I feel frustrated and I don't know what to do next. And I'm like, well, what are you really feeling? And I gave him 3 options that I knew weren't right. I said, fear, whatever. And he goes, no, honestly, God, I'm bitter. And I said, because you have an expectation. If you don't want to go to the pool, say, no, I don't want to go to the pool. And don't go to the pool.
That's it.
But he was scared of not saying yes because he wanted his wife to see him as this happy dad who wanted to go to the pool.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And it's hard. I know it's hard, but listen, you're not keeping the peace by giving up your autonomy and complying with areas of your life that you don't want to comply with. You are literally planting the seeds of resentment that's going to become a root of bitterness that's going to choke not the life just out of you, but out of everybody around you.
But you know what's really cool about this, guys, is you learn to compromise differently too when you understand this. So he used autonomy. So you know who you are, you know your identity, you are true to yourself and you're authentic, okay? I don't have to want to go to the pool. Let me give you a real life example. I don't fucking particularly like having the hobby farm and goats, and chickens everywhere and poop getting all places and like turkeys in the house and like, I don't like it. I don't like it at all, actually. The house is like a giant toilet since my kids are toddlers. Okay. Well, babies. So but it brings my family joy. But I can say that because I know who I am. Well, I don't love it, but I love my fucking wife. I love my kids. I love the smiles on their face. I just posted a story with a brand new turkey, 5 turkeys hatched underneath the turkey outside. Meanwhile, Catherine's got like 40 eggs coming on Friday and another fucking 8 turkeys inside. I don't even know. Like the room smells like, but you know what? It brings joy. But I don't have to lie. I can say, I don't love it. I can say, hey, babe, can you make sure that if we're having another senior dog that we're getting this poop picked up, please? Because I shouldn't want to do that all the time. I'll do as much as I can. But, right? But I'm telling the truth. And that's what you need to get to. So you might not go to the pool, but you can be honest. You might go to the pool and say, I don't want to, but you know what? I'll do it for you, I'm going to have to run, guys, in 5 minutes. So I just want to let you know. Now, your boundaries. Stephanie says, why does my spouse get irritated when I set boundaries? Because society tells you to use boundaries, but if your partner doesn't respect you or care for you or love you in the way that they should right now, they're coasting, why would they respect your boundaries? So they're going to get irritated. Okay. It's just simple. In the moral marriage method, we do inspire, lead, ask, motivate with a boundary. It's never lay a boundary. If you know who you are, the critique is gone. You are showing up. If you use a boundary, it's full on intent that they will realize that they can't do this to you anymore. But if you just start that without being the person you're proud of first, if you're not authentic, living without the critique or the critic on your shoulders, we called it like the devil on your shoulders yesterday. Like living without that nightmare, you can't. That's why when we have a podcast episode coming out right now, we talked about it again, where it's like, your partner screamed at you, and they yelled at you and they called you fucking names, and you feel justified then to fight back and blame your partner. But I'm going to tell you, and Catherine's going to tell you, James is going to tell you, you do like who you are there? Because why would they ever respect your boundaries if you can't be who you are? See, you're a power and strength if you don't fight back like that. If you just even try to give them gratitude. Hey, thanks for trying to keep your cool.
That's right.
I realize how hard that was for you. Man, you're a strong partner. You do that for a while with all the little intricate details of your relationship, and pretty soon you can have a boundary. Hey, listen, that won't work for me. I need you to leave.
Yeah.
Say what? Now, we've already asked a number of times before that happens, okay? But that's the real quick version of it.
That's right.
Let's see if I can find another good question.
Yes, I want to mention something real quick. Something you said, and when I use the goats. So I've been to Cass's house numerous times and spent a lot of time there and around the goats and things, and the other animals. He doesn't like them. He doesn't also tolerate them. He doesn't walk around bitching about what he doesn't like. He just leads in that because it's exciting to him to see his family enjoy it, but it's not something he has to embrace like he's got to love it all. So he can say, this ain't my thing, but it's your thing, and I love you. You see what I'm saying?
In fact, I love that you brought that up too. I'll give you two things. So the first thing was like, I remember when Dennis was here, and I think what happened was a little baby duck got stuck behind the chicken coop. I had to like take the chicken coop apart to get to this duck. And it took like an hour. I'm lying at chicken shit. Like it was gross. Big. But like, I mean, the family's freaking out, whatever. Anyways, Catherine gets kids out of the house. I get this duck back and I build it back up. And Dennis just looks at me and goes, oh no. Dennis just looked at me and smiled. He goes, man, you're a good man. I go, people wonder why I get fucking late all the time. Like, I don't like the animals, but I'm going to do the shit you need to do for your partner. That's what it's called, sacrifice, you guys.
Right. And it's not so that she loves him. It's because he loves her.
Yeah, that's right. And then, you know, what I do with it for Catherine said I got 40 eggs coming in from Florida. I like drop everything. What? 40 eggs? Yeah. And I do a fucking chicken dance, man. Like, you support you guys. That's what I'm saying. You blame your partners, but like, could you really just try a little harder to do everything you could do to be the person? See, I'm proud to be excited for chickens, even though I don't like them.
That's right.
That's it. Why? Because it brings more joy to the house.
It's what it represents. The chickens represent unity.
That's right. Yes, I love that.
Yes, the chickens represent. The last thing, though, real quick, brother, is that you know the question was, what are some things? The last and most important thing about overcoming that inner critic is to not listen to it, but at the same time, don't fight it. Convert it. The inner critic signals your edges. So transmute that energy into fuel. When it says you can't, I want you to hear you're close. Use the tension as a compass. Use the tension as a compass. Growth begins exactly where the critic gets loud. So sit there and turn that shit into fuel.
I love it. I love it. All right, guys. I have to run for another call, so it's a quick one today. We try to run the hour for you, but love you guys. Every week,
next week,
3 p.m. Central, we'll do this live Q&A. If you have your questions ready, guys, we'll just roll with it. Otherwise, we'll bring a topic and we'll go with that. All right, guys.
There you go.
See ya.
Peace out.